So guys, inflation is raging the country and the world economy as we speak. Things are so bad, and right now people have to think differently in terms of money. You have to think of how you're going to conserve the value of that paper that you're holding on to. Whatever you're holding on to as cash, that's useless paper. You need something that can then conserve its value. Remember, money can be printed, but you want something that can actually conserve or reserve the value of the money that you're currently having. So inflation has been really bad, and especially in Kenya, for example, right now we're talking about 7.1%. Inflation has gone to 27-month high of 7.1% from 6.4% in April. So within 1 month, we've had a 2 point something percent increase in inflation. That is not something you want to play around with. That's not something you want to take for granted. If inflation is at 7 point something percent and you have your money in the bank earning you 1 or 2% or 3% or even 4%, what are you doing? You're losing money, you're doing nothing basically, and you're wasting that opportunity to actually make money. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you briefly about some of the things you can do right now and ensure you are good and set for any issues with inflation, and that you can actually reserve the value of your money. Here at Kenneth MoneyMatters, as usual, talk about the money mindset, how to make that money, how to enjoy that money, how to manage that money, how to invest that money, and how to assure yourself of a lifetime of income. Basically, financial freedom. That's what we're going for. But right now, inflation is eating into our financial freedom journey, and the value of money that you're having right now will definitely not be the same value next year or even next month, actually. So what do you do when there's so much inflation in a country? This is something that we have to talk about consistently, because then if we don't, people will not have that knowledge or that information of conserving their wealth. Now, the best advice I always tell people, during inflation, you need to have some money, of course, because you're spending more money, right? So you're spending more money. Food prices are up, fuel prices are up, energy prices crazy, generally. Everything has gone up, basically, man. Every single thing is expensive right now. Living standards are crazy. In the UK, it's crazy. In Europe, generally, it's crazy. In the US, it's crazy. In Kenya, it's even worse. So we have to start thinking of ways in which we can ensure that we are surviving, but at the same time, we are reserving the value of whatever money that we have aside, be it any savings that we may have, or whatever it is that you may have, put together or earned. So how do you deal with inflation, or how do you ensure that you reserve the value of your money? Number one, seek expert opinion or advice. A lot of people assume that these are things that people know. Every single thing you go to school to learn, every single skill, you look for someone who can teach you, a mentor. Yeah, you look for someone who can advise you. Be it life, you go to a life coach. Be it school, you go to school. Be it you want to learn karate, you go to someone who knows karate. Football, you go to a football academy or a school or whatever. When it comes to finances, you assume you're gonna know it just by default, but that's not true. You should have a way in which you're getting certain specific financial help from experts so that you know exactly what to do in times like this. It's very important to pay some little money, get your things insured with some expert advice, rather than just winging it. So you work so hard, you make the money, but now you don't want to spend a small percentage of it to know exactly what to do with your money. So I have lots of people who are making good money, but they don't know what to do with that money. They don't know where to put the money properly and make more money. So they make some mistakes despite having good cash flow. The earlier you begin, the better. The earlier you also realize that it's important to have that knowledge, to have that information, the better for you. So seek that financial advice, seek that expert opinion, and get to know what is possible. Where can you put your money right now? What can you do in your situation so that you are able to address these issues? And remember, for example, if you come to Kenneth MoneyMatters, we look at your unique situation. So whatever applies to you will never apply to anyone else. So we are looking at your unique situations, your circumstances, and then we advise you based on those circumstances. So feel free to come to Kenneth MoneyMatters for more. Even if it's not me, look for someone who can give you some expert opinion on what to do at this particular time. The second thing you want to do is you want to invest in more long-term equities, things that could outdo inflation. You want investments that are long-term, and you want investments that will outdo inflation. Now, imagine 7.1%. That's quite high. Most places in Kenya, if you go to, for example, to treasury bills, they give you 7 to 8%. If you go to a good deposit account, even if you have lots of money, the maximum you're going to get is 8 to 9%. Most people get 4% to 5%. Now, basically, that's you're losing your money. You're wasting your time, even with a deposit account. So it means you have to find things that can outdo the rate of inflation. At 7.1%, there are only a few investment instruments that can outdo inflation, but they are there and you see them every single day. Sometimes people are just lazy to look for them, or sometimes people are just not keen on them, or sometimes people just don't want to focus and get the right things done. So you want to look for investments that will outdo, and I always say equities are really good at this. Buying assets, not just equities, you can also buy other assets like houses. Real estate has done really well, for example. That's something that can outdo inflation in the long run, for sure. However, market right now is quite close because the returns on real estate could be like 10%, but over the long-term horizon, you're gonna reserve the value of your money. Real estate is really good. Those who like Bitcoin and they have the money for it and it fits in your portfolio, this is the time to buy cryptocurrencies because they could be a way of conserving the value of your money. For me right now, my portfolio doesn't really get so crazy into Bitcoin, but those who feel that that's where they want to go, buy Bitcoin, buy a cryptocurrency. If you like it, if you feel comfortable with it, buy it. If you're okay with the volatility, buy cryptocurrency. It's also a way of conserving your wealth. Those who are traditional, you can go to gold, you can go to silver, but buy something that will really reserve the value of your money. So like I've said, there are equities long term, there are real estate long term, there is cryptocurrency long term, there is silver and gold long term. These are things that will definitely reserve your wealth and the value of your money instead of having cash. Number 3, take your money out of the bank. I've done a video recently just on banks and why you shouldn't have money in the bank. That is the worst thing you can do right now. Like I've said, it will give you 4, 5 or 6% at maximum. That's if you have lots of money. If you have normal hundreds of thousands, 100, 200,000, 300,000, probably 4% at max. And that's something you want to avoid at this particular time. So no money in the bank. Take that money out of the bank. Take it somewhere where it can actually do some work for you. Let that money work. Money doesn't need to rest. Money doesn't breathe. It's just paper. Don't keep money. Don't store money in the bank. Number 4, you want to reduce the amount of cash that you have. Those who have liquid money, you don't want to have so much liquid cash. Invest that money. Find ways in which you can put that money in a high yielding account. So, if you can get way more than the inflation rate, that's perfect. If you can get a money market fund, that's perfect. You can get bonds, that's perfect. Find alternative investments that could then give you more money instead of having cash that is basically losing value at a very fast rate. Like I said, in a span of just 1 month, inflation moved from 6.5 to 7.2% in Kenya, for example. And anywhere else like the UK, people are foreseeing even up to 9% by the end of the year. So that is something you want to be careful about. Then, of course, you want to make sure that you choose your investments wisely. This is a time to look at investments that will give you good returns, but also reserve your wealth. Not like crazy investments that you're going to risk all your money and then lose it. At a time when people are losing jobs, businesses are closing, economic growth is slowing down, this is not the time to mess around with your money. This is the time to look for stable, good investments. And that's where expert opinion comes in. Look for investments that are good during inflation. There are investments specifically meant for inflation periods, and they can really help you reduce the risk that you're taking, but also increase your returns above the inflation rate. So make sure you're choosing your investments wisely. The next thing you want to do during an inflation like this is to maximize tax efficiency. You want to make sure that you are tax efficient. If you are in a country or a jurisdiction where there are certain tax advantages you could enjoy, make sure you are using them fully so that you're not putting money in brokerage accounts that are taxable while you have the option of having money that is non-taxed, or sometimes even having money in accounts where the government adds you more money. Because if you put, for example, in the UK, in the US, you find some extra money that could be support, like 401ks, you have the employer match, for example. In the UK, if you have like a SIP, you have the government putting in something like 20% on top of what you deposit. So you always want to use those advantages, and that makes it easier for you to reserve as much as possible the value of the money that you could reserve. So for example, you could also have like pension accounts. You could have accounts that are supposed to help people buy property. You could have specific accounts for children's college or education. You could have specific accounts for private pensions. You could have specific accounts for families or couples or anything. There are so many things that the governments do offer as incentives for people to save or to invest, and they are tax efficient. This is the time to get to know, where should I put my money, and not just because it's giving me good returns, but this is because it is tax efficient and I'm able to get enough return out of it. Because you could be getting 10% out of an investment, inflation is at 7.1%, and the taxes will be taking you down to 6%. You're still playing a losing game. Make sure you are tax efficient. Make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure you understand the accounts that you have. I always tell people the accounts you have really matter. So understand the fees and the taxes and anything in between. And if you can watch my video on the fees on CDSC accounts in Kenya, for example, that helps you start understanding the fees that people would then be charging you on the accounts that you hold. And then finally, you want to pay off debts at this particular time. This is the time to pay off debt. Pay off those debts you're holding on to. Don't wait. You want to be clear of baggage at this particular time because you are really trying to maximize your returns and nothing that goes out. So clear your debts at this particular time. It's good, and the interest rates are also rising right now. So the faster you clear them, the better, before things get worse and debt become very expensive, because debt is becoming more and more expensive. So you want to clear the debt so that you don't have something that is taking away from your past at a time when the economy is clearly slowing down. These are some of the ways you can start dealing with inflation. Put this into practice right now and see what happens. After a few years, you will be in a stable ground, you will be back on top, and you'll be okay. Your money will still have some value. It will have worked for you over years and made you way more money. Remember, money does not need to rest. Money is a soldier that can work all the time. Get it out there, get it to work for you, and make you more money. Until next time, guys, Kenneth Money Matters, make sure you subscribe, share, like, and comment.